Okay, here we are, Matthew Russell Lee, Inner City Press, here on Pearl Street in Lower Manhattan, covering the Southern District of New York Courthouse and U.S. Attorney's Office. Now, first on the Trump docket, as per usual. Yesterday, the Supreme Court shot down summarily, one paragraph, the bid by the Attorney General of Missouri to delay Trump's sentencing in the building right around the corner at 100 Center Street, now due in September. The argument was that the gag order denied Missouri voters the right to hear from a presidential candidate, and that the sentencing would deny them the right of a vibrant candidacy. Thomas and Alito said they would have allowed at least the filing, but they weren't going to grant interim relief, which would have been delayed the sentencing. So the sentencing is on as of now, and we are going to be there. Of course, there'll be a ruling on September 6th. We'll cover that first. Now, in other Supreme Court news, something we're trying to get to the bottom of today, the Snyder decision, which says that a gratuity given after the act ostensibly traded for is not a bribe under federal law in some cases. So many of the 70 New York City Housing Authority defendants have pled guilty, but some are saying they're not pleading guilty. They're going to cite Snyder. And yesterday, for the first time, a person said they're not withdrawing their plea, at least not yet. The sentencing was delayed, but they want the judge to consider Snyder. Now, the question is, do the prosecutors have a duty to consider Snyder when they look at the discovery they have, even before they turn it over? This is what we don't know, and that's one of the things we're going to try to get to the bottom of it. Also, the impact of the Chevron deference killing off by the Supreme Court on the civil side of the office. How does that work? And here's we're going to back into this one. For some time, we've covered, from the outside, of course, not allowed to go in and ask questions as we once did at the United Nations, the allegations that UNRWA workers took part in the October 7th attack. Yesterday, the UN, begrudgingly, they've denied it throughout. They said, well, 9 may have done it and they're being fired. Now, of course, those they allowed in were like, oh, may have, it's not true, you don't have it, as if the UN really wanted to say that. I think if they say may, if the UN, which has denied it throughout, says may, you figure it out. But here's the thing. Here in the Southern District, there was a lawsuit filed against UNRWA for participation in terrorism, which is now essentially confirmed. But the State Department, via the U.S. Attorney's Office, said, sorry, under existing statute, we must assert the absolute immunity of the United Nations no matter how terroristic they've become. I'm paraphrasing, of course. Now, the reality is it's a stretch, but does the end of Chevron deference mean that this interpretation, now, it might seem like an open and shut case under the law, which could change. The American people are absolutely free to say we do not want to give immunity. Just as some people are upset about immunity for a president, how about immunity for an entirely unaccountable, never elected global organization which, in fact, participates in terrorist deeds by its own account? So will Chevron deference, could it somehow impact and pierce the veil of UN immunity, which also exists as to banning the press, which they continue to do, and which we won't. Now, this is not an argument that Quinn Emanuel or Dwayne Morris have advanced, at least not yet. They both wrote on behalf of Inner City Press pro bono to the UN, got no response. What will happen next? It remains to be seen. In the crypto beat, got to switch civil for a moment. Yesterday, as we reported and placed up the document, the SEC said they don't even want to give a sample of Gary Gensler's emails to Coinbase in this ongoing crypto dispute. So you can find that document on Inner City Press, and we'll hopefully have more later today. Tim Walz is the man. That's what's just emerged before we recorded it. But more on all this to come. Inner City Press, going into the courts and then elsewhere today, Tuesday, August 6th.